What's up, Michigan State fans? It's Jacob Katsunika here, back for another edition of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. Going through the bye week now for Michigan State football, coming off of a 45-31 loss to the USC Trojans. Haven't seen Jonathan Smith or anyone talk about during the bye week. They don't host media availabilities during the bye week. But today we're going to talk about the bye week. What are the things that this team has to kind of look at and evaluate over this next week of maybe not preparation for Nebraska, but just what do they really need to do better moving forward against Nebraska and in the remaining 8 games on their schedule. First things first, the defense is really going to have to show some signs of improvement sooner rather than later. Again, USC's offense might be the best in the Big Ten. Statistically, they're right near the top of the entire country. But in a game where you allow them to score 7 times, they either got a field goal or a touchdown, usually the touchdown. They scored 7 of their 10 drives, really 7 of 9. They weren't really trying on the last one, which was the only time MSU forced a punt. It's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. Some of it you could say is because of some of the injuries they suffered. Jordan Hall, well, it wasn't an injury, but Jordan Hall disqualified from the game in the first half due to targeting. It's always tough when you see Wayne Matthews go through what he did. We'll kind of touch on that actually a little bit later on here. But Brady Pretzlaff wasn't available in that game, so you were basically down your top 3 linebackers. You saw a lot of Ice Moa. And you saw some other guys step up in that game. Marcellus Pulliam got some snaps. Darius Snow got some more snaps. But Jaden Mayava did whatever he wanted there. There wasn't really a pass rush. I think they only got close to him one time. They should have gotten him for a sack, but he just kind of jumped out of the way of a couple of guys. And might have been the biggest play of the game, really. It was a 3rd down. I think it was the first play of the 4th quarter. If Michigan State gets that stop, USC punts, and the MSU's offense, which did play well, I think, in that game. Not perfect, but a lot better than the defense. MSU's offense would have had the chance to tie that game up if they got the ball back, and they didn't get the stop. I think USC converted a 4th down later on in that drive, 4th and short, but still. And they scored a touchdown, go up 14, then that kind of killed the hope of that game. But still, for the most part, the defense just kind of got dominated in that game, and to some level, I don't think the team necessarily has the talent. This team just isn't. I think 11 p.m. kickoff West Coast against a team with a caliber against USC. I just don't know if they're there yet. This might be a rant for another time, but I don't know if they got the horses yet to really improve the pass rush. That's the other big thing. They need to find a way to get to the quarterback. Blitz packages, it's just nothing is working at all. Like, it doesn't matter how many guys they're really sending. If it's 5 or 6, guys are getting clean pockets and they're just kind of standing back there and getting the ball out. So, but looking through the guys in the portal, it's guys that I think could be good. Next year after that, like Anel Lafele. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but he's a redshirt freshman. He's got a lot of time to develop, but he's a redshirt freshman, and he's probably the best guy they've got right now. And for a team that's looking to make a bowl game, that's competing in the Big Ten, you want to have a couple of guys ahead of him that can get to the quarterback a bit more. Jalen Thompson's been fine, but David Santiago hasn't gotten too many snaps, but I've liked him a little bit. But it was a lot of guys that just were either unproven at the Big Ten level from the pass rush, or it was just kind of unknown in general. Like, again, Lafele, he was at Wisconsin last year, didn't play at all, true freshman, so it's kind of like you shrug your shoulders, because that happens all the time, guys, redshirt. Santiago, Air Force, 2.5, 3.5 sacks, something like that, but it's the Mountain West. It's a little different once you get to the Big Ten and get some bigger offensive linemen that you're going up against. Isaac Smith, a guy who saw his snaps decrease as the year went on at Texas Tech, last year. Was one of the first guys they got in the spring portal. I feel like I'm missing somebody here, but just it's there's just no one in the pass rush where when it's third down and 7, they're passing. There's no one that has inspired the confidence yet and say this guy can get home and force the quarterback to get rid of the ball quicker than he would like to. Some of it could also be the coverage. Something they talked about is that quarterbacks are getting the ball out quick. I've kind of talked about this in a full detail already, but when quarterbacks are getting the ball, it was something Alex Van Sumeren talked about. Quarterbacks are getting the ball out really quick against them. That's what their stats are saying right now. But when the quarterback is getting the ball out quick, you kind of think to yourself, well, they're probably getting the ball out quick because the coverage might not be tight enough, might not be good enough. I think like Malcolm Bell's been a pretty good addition here, but just generally in the secondary, things have been tough. They're in their ranking in passing yards allowed is in the triple digits. Some of that's the pass rush, some of that's the secondary. So just all around, I think when the linebacker core is the best thing Michigan State's got defensively, but the front of the line, the defensive line, and the secondary has not been there yet. So something has to change there. If Michigan State wants to get to 6 wins, if they want to make a bowl game, because again, if Michigan State doesn't make a bowl game this year, if they don't get to 6 wins, things are going to get tough. Things are going to get difficult in a hurry. There's got to be some sense of urgency there to start getting wins because the fan base is already getting a little bit restless. People are sick of 5-7, and understandably so. No one wants to go 5-7. The coaching staff doesn't want to go 5-7. The fans don't want to go 5-7. But something has to be built here. I still think this is an improved team from last year. Aiden Childs has been much better. The offense looks a lot better. I think the play calling has been better, but it's got to translate. You got to see that more. You got to see +1, +2, +3 in the win column. So it's a tough schedule. Michigan State's actually, according to ESPN Football Power Index, they're only favored one game the rest of the way. There's a few closer ones like Maryland, Minnesota, where they still have that. Yeah, you have that legitimate chance of winning, but only UCLA, where it's about 50%. So they've got to find a way to improve, and either steal a game on the road or here or there, or pull off an upset. But again, more things you got to look at. Go back to the linebackers, Wayne Matthews. We're not going to get updates on injuries for a while. Probably not until next Monday, when Jonathan Smith is slated to talk next to preview the Nebraska week. But you can only presume that Wayne Matthews is going to maybe not. Well, probably. Chances are, if you had to guess, you'd have to imagine ambulance, stretchered off. It's probably something season-ending. At the very least, it's probably something that's going to keep him out for a while. You hope, obviously, that's not the case. But we'll see about Brady Pretzlaff. But linebackers, you're going to need to see a linebacker step up, whether that be Darius Snow, excuse me, Isiamoa, Polium. Just someone has to fill that gap that Wayne Matthews is leaving now, probably. We'll see about Stanton Ramil. He only played a handful of snaps in that USC game, left tackle. Most important part of it, any offensive line, protecting Aiden Childs' blind side. That's obviously a tough one to suffer. But Rustin Young came in there. I think he was fine, given how young he is. Against a really good USC pass rush, I think he handled things relatively well. But again, it's still a tough injury to suffer. We'll see how severe it is. There didn't really seem to be any indications from Smith's post-game press conference in that one for Ramil. Again, once we get those injury updates, you'll hear about them. But it's just the offensive line's going to have to protect Aiden Childs a little bit better. There was still a lot of times where pressure got home against Aiden Childs, and he had to move around. He only got sacked twice, but it kind of felt like more than that. Run game was okay against USC. I still think Childs, though, is playing great. The wide receivers, Childs and the wide receivers is the least thing I'm worried about. Nick Marsh is Nick Marsh. Amari Kelly's been fantastic, and Krishan McCray's fine. Jack Velling should be fine, even though he's only had one real good game through 4. But still, Jack Velling is he's a good tight end to have. I wouldn't worry about that too much. But again, so much focus has to be on the defense, though. That's the main thing that's the main thing that must improve. It looked shaky. It looked great against Western Michigan. They pitched the shutout, but ever since it's been shaky. It was shaky against Boston College. No sacks in that game. Youngstown State, they were struggling to get pressure. They got 2 sacks in that one, and one of them was on the last play of the game where it was like, who cares? And then nothing against USC. No sacks, and only one time where I think they got close. So pass rush, first 2 pieces of priority here have to be you have to get a better pass rush, whether that be a 4-man rush, a 5-man rush, or a 6-man rush. Someone somewhere has to start making quarterbacks stressed out a little bit more because like when Michigan comes to town, you can't give a guy like Bryce Underwood time just to sit back there and find a receiver, even though Michigan's wide receiver core is what it is. But just there's too many good quarterbacks in the Big Ten that Michigan State's eventually going to face where if you give them 4 or 5 seconds of time, they're going to get killed. So that has to improve, and they're going to need some probably better help in that pass rush too. I can't imagine they're just going to suddenly become elite. So that means the secondary has to step up a bit too. So defense has to be the theme of this bye week. Offense, you want to see a little bit better run game. But overall, though, this team still has the potential, I think, to become something that builds towards a better future for the program. I still think, based off of the roster construction from Jonathan Smith and his staff, that 2026 is kind of the year where they really want to see a real big uptick in the win column. You have so many guys set to come back next year. Aiden Childs has another year. Nick Marsh has to play another year of college football. He'd go to the NFL if he could, probably right now. A guy like Connor Moore, the right tackle, he's been great. He has another year of eligibility. There's just you look through the roster, and there's just a lot of guys, who have that couple, Krishan McCray, who have those extra years of eligibility set to come back. Obviously it's bold assumptions in the transfer portal era, but 2026 kind of looks like the year where they want to hit the gas pedal a bit more, per se. But still, you got to kind of see that year-to-year building up to get that confidence from administration, from boosters, from the people who help the team out financially. So, but we'll see. They got 8 games to play. They got to win at least 3 of them for the fan base to kind of feel, well fed, I guess. But again, we'll continue to break it down each day, every single day, the rest of the way for you guys. Again, I'm Jacob Kotzanika. Continue to tune in to coverage here on SpartanNation.com, and I'll see you guys around.